All right, it is time. Sorry, won't hold up any longer. Welcome to the Wakefield School Board, to the concerned residents of Wakefield meeting May 7th. I'll let you bring your membership to order after Charlie said he'd like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, I'd like to bring the meeting to order. Okay. Okay.
Here's Charlie. Anybody like to flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
I think you forgot part of it.
Yeah.
And they got me sure wrong.
I think Dave knows everybody on the school board,
A lot of things
but
happen with the age.
this is Miss Liz Olimpio, Viv Macedo, Priscilla Colbath, Judy Nason, and Steve Brown. Steve and Viv are the latest elected members. Judy's been on for 2 years. Priscilla?
I'm in my second term, so.
4 years?
Yeah.
And Liz, we drafted you a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, 2 years now and 8 years earlier.
Okay. So that kind of answers almost some questions. So, maybe how would you like to run it, Priscilla?
You're running it.
Okay, if I have to run it, I'm gonna say that there's a few things going on at the school. There's gonna be a new principal next year. There's gonna be a new superintendent next year. Those things I know for sure, right? I'll try to stay away from the things I don't know for sure. So because of that, I'll open the floor to questions to the school board that aren't on the list, and I'll open it up.
2 copies of the list?
I have 1 copy, thanks to Steve.
We don't want to ask the same question.
I know. Well, it's not that. Maybe I should start it. I guess one of the pressing questions that folks ask me is, it seems as though the minutes aren't always available, and we're hoping to find out. I think Gail was saying at the last school board meeting that those minutes are now completely available, or?
We both checked after that meeting, and they have been right up there for some time, so it's just a matter of people not realizing how to get into the minutes, because David emailed me, and he said the minutes aren't there, and I said yes they are, and he went and looked the way I told him to navigate the site, and so they are. Okay. So the minutes are available as soon as they're approved.
Okay. Knowing the process, Priscilla, can you tell us that process so that anybody watching this post-meeting might be able to get that information?
The process of the minutes?
Of finding the minutes on, is it the SAU website?
It's an SAU website,
okay.
And you go to school board, it's a drop down, you hit minutes, and then it will show maybe the minutes of one particular meeting up at the top. It'll say January, February, March. Make sure you hit on March if you want the current minutes, or April actually, if you want current minutes, and then you just click on them. It's really quite easy.
You have to click on Wakefield School Board too, because
Yes.
there's Wakefield, Milton, and SAU.
It's not at the very top, it's maybe about that far down on the page, like near the middle.
If you keep scrolling down, you'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but it's not that far down, it's only about, I don't know, about 3, it's not at the very top of the page, but it's down about 2-3 inches, for a lack of a computer term for which, but it's SAU64.org is the website you go to.
That was my first question. Anybody else come up with any yet? Oh boy. Not all at once.
Shocking.
Huh?
Shocking.
Dave, you got one?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to go to the list, I guess. I've already asked the question how long you folks have been on the school board. The goals that you have for the school district, would you individually go over the goals that you have, or would you rather go?
Sure, go ahead.
2 years ago, we as a board sat down and set up goals, and we now have a new board, because obviously the board changed in March. So we will have to have a meeting to see if we want to continue with those original goals that we set, or if we've accomplished some, if we'd like to replace it with a different goal, or if there's anything to add. But what our superintendent did from that, we started with 5 goals. And then our superintendent created a strategic action plan from that for the school itself to implement. So if you want me to, I can tell you what our 5 goals were. And then there are
Copies.
copies up here available for the strategic action plan, which
Anybody else
falls
hand out?
underneath it.
I think it'd be interesting if you hit all of them or a few of them.
Well, there's
whatever
there's
you come-
5 that we had. Number 1 is academic achievement will be equal or superior to state standards. Number 2 is school policies and practices will be implemented to assure educational success. Number 3 is high performance expectations for both students and adults will be formulated and implemented to create a culture of excellence and respect. 4 is school facilities and resources will be maintained in a safe, fiscally responsible, and innovative manner, meeting or exceeding state standards. And 5 is community relations will be strengthened by being more transparent, improving communication, and encouraging involvement. So those were the 5 plans we set out 2 years ago. And then, as I said, Gail created an action plan underneath it, and I don't know if you want me to read that whole thing, but it is available for people to look at.
On the number 3 goal, when you say students and adults, are you talking about the teachers, the staff, or are you stretching as far as their parents? I mean, the students are pretty clear, they're children, but when you say adults, are you talking about the
I believe we're talking about the adults in the
System.
school system.
And your 5th goal, this is a pretty good step towards achieving that 5th goal, right? I mean, community involvement. So I think that's a good. Thank you again for.
So those are available up here if anybody
Okay.
wants to.
Should I step up there and grab that and spread it around? Anybody want a copy of that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Steve,
Wanna-
what's your individual goal? Should I ask you?
We actually don't have individual goals. We are not individuals when we sit as a board. We're the board, and we have board goals.
Okay. You don't plan on running to be elected to strive towards an individual goal? I mean, is there ever a time when
I think when
You
you're
think about
running,
running?
I think when you're running, you have goals and things that you'd like to see accomplished. And once you're on the board, you become a team and you become a member of a team. And then your goals need to be put together so that you're all working together in the same direction.
Hey, Larry, how are you? Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Now I'm going back to my question.
There's one more over, if you
Let me
need.
ask a question.
Sure, Dave, go ahead.
Watching the last meeting, there was a lot of discussion about changing the grading structure. What facilitated that? Who brought it up? Is it part of the school board's responsibility to initiate that? Principal, where did it come from?
The state.
The state. So all of the schools in the state are going to that
They
grading
will.
structure?
They'll all go to competency-based report cards. That Spalding already has them. They're ahead of the curve. There are other schools that are working on them, but that will be a mandate. I believe it's a mandate for all schools. They'll have to go to competency-based.
How do you feel that's going to affect Cindy and Denny?
You know, Cindy Denny's going to go away because the No Child Left Behind is at an end in what, 2014, 2013?
Our current testing for kneecap will be, and we're going to a different testing.
So Cindy Denny won't be as, it won't be Cindy Denny. It'll probably be called something else.
They'll come up with some.
But I don't know, we just got a presentation of the report card, so I don't really know how I feel. Any other board member want to speak on how to feel about this competency-based report card?
I think it clarifies what a child can do. Not every child, you can't tell what they're learning by giving them A, B, C, or D. Children are more than just that one letter grade, and I think they may have a strength in reading or orally discussing what they've learned, but when they sit in front of a piece of paper and they're getting a test, they freeze. And it's hard, because when you average that in, you know, they may show as a C student, but in fact, they're probably an A student. They just freeze when it comes to taking tests. I think it gives a better picture of what they understand. My only concern is the time that will be involved from the teachers, and whether or not they will be able to maintain that. And the other concern also is how much of it will be teachers' opinion versus what the actual grading is. You know, I mean, a teacher may feel that this child is struggling or is excelling, when in fact that may be just the teacher's opinion. So that's the, you know, I think it's a very difficult thing to kind of understand right now. We're going to have to just go with it and keep monitoring it.
I assume the additional time the teachers are spending is not going to be classroom time.
No, they'll have to do that outside of the classroom time.
Well, it's kind of ongoing though, because we spoke to a couple of the kindergarten teachers that are on the report card committee and a couple of the first grade teachers, and from what they said is that it's an ongoing. So the kindergarten teacher said she has a clipboard, and today her lesson is to learn to count 1 to 100. And so she goes around the class and she kind of picks children out and she gives check marks. So at the end of the week, whatever lessons that she had for the week, those check marks will give an indication as to, okay, they were able to answer 3 out of the 5 times, and this one did 4 out of the 5, and this one did 5 out of the 5. So that's how that grade level. As far as the older grades, you know.
The individual report cards will be done on the teacher's time, though, filling out the report cards. They're extensive, they're going to be 3 or 4 pages.
Same subject as Dave had. I thought when the presentation was given to the school board, there was 2 different choices. In one direction, Ms. Lewis was presenting to the school board was the choice that they had made to head in that direction. Wasn't there 2 separate directions they could have gone?
I don't know.
The principal mentioned 2 different testings that the state could choose from, and the one that the state chose was the Smarter Balance.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't remember 2 choices we could have had.
I thought it was the report card group that had 2 different directions and they had chosen one.
I think that,
They had 2 samples, one grade 3 and one grade
Yeah.
7.
Okay.
So we had 2
and
samples.
I think that they talked about the kneecap versus the Smarter Balance testing
Right.
in that same conversation, so that might have been the choice. It was the state's choice of how they were going to.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Where do we stand as in comparison with other schools as in our education? Like a rating? Is there such a thing as a rating or something like that puts us?
Percentage-wise, you mean? I really don't know.
Not so much percentage, but I mean like education, you know, like our reading skills are at a certain level of the state rating. I mean, where do we stand as in overall education in Pole School?
Well, that's kind of done by the kneecap. It lets you know where you are as far as where the state in general is and where your score is. And if you look at the kneecaps, you could pretty much tell, but that's statewide. It doesn't really tell you a place like you're in the 100th place or 2nd place.
Well, I was just, my follow-up question would have been, is where do we stand and what do you think that we need to improve on as, you know, to get as our kids having a better education? You know, like there's the reading level, that was always the thing I always heard, was our reading level or a reading department in our school was very low in the state.
Well, we've put.
I'm not sure if it was reading.
We've done a lot of things. We've, curriculum's constantly being looked at, and we have a fairly new reading program, and they're doing Dibble testing, and the other testing is Ames Web testing for reading. Math, we're not going to do a new curriculum in math until they get the Common Core standards done for the state, so that we make sure that we're in line with what the Common Core standards are going to be, and that's going to be next year. Right now we're reviewing our social studies curriculum. So we're going to be putting forth a new social studies curriculum next year. We have hired reading specialists, we've hired math specialists. We have a Title I program to give extra help. We have, we've done so many things to try to improve our kneecap testing and to improve our curriculum. We just put a new science curriculum in, FOSS science curriculum, and that's more of a hands-on, experiment-based program. But what you've got to realize is a program you put in place, you're not really going to see the results of for probably 3 to 4 years. Because if you put a science curriculum in place, let's say, the kindergartners are going to have it K, 1, 2, 3, and then they're going to be tested in 3rd grade. So for your first class to go through up until the first testing takes 3 to 4 years. So hopefully we'll start seeing the results and hopefully improved results as we continue to improve the curriculum and time goes on.
As a board, do you feel that we've improved in the last couple of years?
I do.
I was disappointed, frankly, this year in our kneecap scoring. I was disappointed.
But I'm on.
And our superintendent was as well.
Good.
I'm on FM, focus monitoring, which is part of CINI. That's why we have to do a focus monitoring group. And there's been improvement in special, one of the things was special ed, as far as kneecaps go. And there's been improvements in special ed. Less kids are going into the special ed because they're being, the new programs are helping them so they don't ever have to get on the special ed roles. We need less paras because of that. We hired another caseworker, but less paras, and the caseworkers are actually in the classroom. They're not pulling the kids out anymore. The kids, the special ed kids, are in the classroom with the teacher, with the case manager. So there's a big improvement there.
I know at the last meeting, the one that the Spalding High School principal came, that he was very encouraging that our dropout rate had basically died. That we've generally all kids are now passing and continuing. So that's a great feeling.
That's a good
And
piece of news.
that's because of their alternative pathways. They're finding different ways to educate kids. It's not a one-size-fits-all. They've got several programs down there, and they're working individually with each one of the kids to get them to stay and finish.
And you said that before, Charlie, that the box is not good for everybody. Outside of the box is good, and now that's what they're doing. So,
Yeah, I'm for it.
yeah.
As far as student testing towards the state standards, last year about 68 or 69% of all the students in the state did not meet state standards. This year, 72% of the schools in the state did not meet state standards. And the state raises the bar every year.
So what the kneecap you said, what is that?
That's the testing that, I don't know, I think there's 10 states or 8 states, I'm not quite sure the number of states, that have developed this testing to go along with No Child Left Behind. And New Hampshire is one of the kneecap testing states, and it kind of shows you where the kids are as far as the rest of the kids in the state, you know. And like she said, they raised the bar. First it was like 60%, you had to get 60%, now it's like 84% of all the answers correct. So it's, you know, eventually they want 100%, and you know, it's kind of unrealistic that every child will meet that goal. But you go to the Department of Education site, and you can see our kneecap testing and so on and so forth, see how we've done, and
Good.
it's all right there.
That kneecap is national education, so it's like a federal,
It's New England.
federal.
New England,
Oh,
New England, yeah, New England states.
So it's,
But going back to that, 72% of the kids in the state that didn't come up to state standards, an odd fact is that Newt High School missed it by a couple of points. And the reason they missed it is because the state requires that 95% of a grade has to be in attendance on the day the tests are taken. And if 95% of the students aren't there, you lose points. It has nothing to do with what they've learned or what's in their heads.
that's kind of,
Yeah,
it's good to try to make sure everybody's there so they can test, but it is an unfair.
If children hear about a test coming, what do you think they would like to do?
I always attended the tests in my classes.
Oh, sure.
I
You
did, I
did?
never missed one.
Remember, I was your teacher.
We can keep that quiet. That wasn't one of the questions.
Well,
What? Go ahead, Al.
you have dyslexic children in the school.
I'm sure.
Well, I happen to be a 32nd degree Mason, Scottish Rite. And we have a dyslexic learning center right in Rochester. I believe in the state we have 3 or 4. And that's what they do. And we've helped a lot of children get out of this dyslexic problem.
You may have helped some of us. We don't really have.
Well,
Go ahead.
I don't know how much room we have at the moment. I could find out easy enough, but
We really don't have much information on special ed, where they go and you know, how many are dyslexic, et cetera, et cetera. But very well, some of our kids have been to your center.
but they've done a lot of help for a lot of these dyslexic children. We put a lot of them through there.
That's great.
Done very well.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions from the crowd before I go back to my list? Put on my glasses? They are right there? Thank you. I thought I left them at the store.
You need another pair?
Not right away. Maybe in a minute when I lose these. Okay. I guess I'll go down to the 5th question. Have you been involved in public or private education before serving as a school board member? And in what capacity? So I guess, I know Ms. Olympio, she used to stick that old dunce cap on me once in a while. Do we have to go back that far?
No.
I taught kindergarten in Stratford, so I think that's
That's
private
a handful,
education.
right?
It was before kindergarten was public, so. Anybody else?
We cannot hear you.
Oh,
We got a fan here. Can you shut that fan off?
I can't, I tried, but it'll go off here in a second. I can't get behind it.
Go sit up front.
We've got plenty of room up
Go sit up
front.
front.
Right up there.
Steve, what school did you teach?
Hard knocks.
Hard knocks?
I actually have quite extensive, over 15 years, a substitute teacher. I taught ESL. I was also a travel tutor for Wakefield, Dover, Rochester. I worked with EH. I worked at the Stratford County House of Corrections. I taught the GED program. I worked with homeschoolers. And I worked with the state. I also traveled to multiple different prison locations when we have students. So I work with them one-on-one.
You said ASL or ESL?
ESL, English is a second language. I'm bilingual.
Okay, pass.
I subbed too. Forgot about that, I subbed.
Yeah.
So you occasionally sub also?
I did way back 98, 99, I haven't for years.
Judy, you must help Amy, right?
Occasionally, and I was on years ago, when my kids were little, I was on the Hazel McBrien Board of Directors, and I was on the school board once before from 95 to 99.
School of Hard Knocks, I already told you.
He's just teaching us all something, I think. Okay.
Some of you know, over the years, I've been keeping a tally of the amount of substitute teachers that we have. And it's been, in my opinion, been pretty high. How are we looking this year? Is there a focus on getting the substitute teachers down? Because that's money that the taxpayers don't need to spend. If the teachers are in the classroom, there's no need for a substitute teacher. And the kids learn better from their regular teachers as opposed to a substitute teacher.
Well, I think, oops, sorry.
And you know, that's been something that's bothered me for the last 5 or 6 years that I've been keeping tally, that we're spending somewhere between, I think it's between 4 and 6 substitute teachers per day during the school year.
I think you were
Okay.
happier with last year's numbers though, weren't you?
They were still very high, okay? I think they were around 3 or 4.
We had budgeted.
I haven't looked at the numbers
Yeah.
in that much, but I heard something in the last meeting, watching it on TV, that there's a lot of long-term subs that are there now.
We had
Okay,
3
certain
pregnancies this year.
Okay.
Was
So, I
what
mean,
that
that's
issue is.
gonna inflate the numbers right
Right.
there.
Right.
Okay, and those substitute teachers are probably as good as the teachers are, all right? But there's still teachers that go in on a day-to-day basis. How are we doing? I mean, now those numbers are coming down.
Well, our budget this year was 42.9, and so far we've spent 28, and that's with the 3 long-term subs. So, and actually, I know one of the long-term subs was an actual certified teacher that took over, so it's a little bit different pay rate when they're long-term sub versus just a fill-in day sub. So I think we're doing very good this year, and if it hadn't been for the 3 long-term ones, things like that throw the numbers off.
And who's authorizing the substitutes? Is that done by the principal as opposed to the secretary?
Principal's doing it.
Okay, cool.
Remember, the teacher contracts guarantee professional days. And professional days means the teachers are out of school. And the taxpayers are paying for them to go to the professional days, quite a bit of money.
They
And
also
the
get-
subs to take their place.
They also get 13, it's been a while since I looked at it, 13 sick days per year out of a 180-day work year for a teacher, which is not too bad.
Is it 13
get-
or 15?
I think it's 15.
It was 15, I thought the contract dropped it down to 13 in the last negotiation. It
Not
makes-
that I recall,
Okay.
because we
All right.
negotiate this coming year.
15
but
sick
That doesn't
days
mean
per
everybody
year.
takes them though, Dave. A
Oh,
lot,
oh,
you know.
granted.
I think most of the teachers that take them, that we have now, only take them when they are sick or really need to take them. I don't think anybody's abusing that now. And there are teachers that have taken them.
Do they calculate them, do they gather them up and get it at the end of the year of you know, I don't know.
A buyback?
Yeah, do
No.
they don't,
No.
you lose them every year?
They can accumulate.
That's
to-
what I meant,
Yeah, okay,
accumulate.
they can accumulate. I think my husband had 200 and something when he left. And that last year, he took 1 sick day. No, he could have taken the year off, but he didn't.
Yeah.
But they're not paid.
They're not
accumulate.
paid, no.
Oh, they're not paid.
No.
You can
You can accumulate them and
don't
use them
come
for the
paid.
next year, up to a certain number, I think up to 90.
Yeah, 90,
I think it's
that's what the
90
number
now.
was.
Yeah.
Can you, if there was a teacher that everybody knew was fairly ill and gone beyond their apportioned sick days, is there ever other teachers that offer their sick days to help
We
somebody
haven't had
else?
that happen, but we certainly would entertain that.
That would be up to the union to decide whether or not
Yeah.
to do that.
I'm sure they, yeah, that would be entertained if they wanted to do that.
That'd be nice.
But as far as I know, it's never come up.
I know you have a question. Go ahead, Ed.
How much is the union actually involved in making decisions on what the curriculum is for the students?
The union?
Well, when we do curriculum, we have teachers participating. There's teacher participation, like the social studies teacher right now, I believe, is in charge. The junior high social
Mhm,
studies
yeah.
teacher is part of the social studies curriculum group. You always want a teacher in that field of study being part of your curriculum group. But it's not, the union can't say, no, we don't approve that curriculum. The school board approves curriculum.
What about the National Education Association? Do any of their ideas or policies or come to the school somehow through the union or through the teachers? Does that ever happen?
Not out there. I mean, if it does, nobody's saying this comes from the NEA and we want this done by NEA standards. I've never heard that. And I don't